council here on Monday, March the 11th. I want to thank everybody for being here. Really do appreciate you guys taking the time to come out and be a part of this, because this is moving the business of the county, and you care enough to be here, and we want to thank you for that. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Councilman Hudson for the invocation and pledge.
Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight, Lord, to conduct the business of the county. Lord, I just praise you, thank you for allowing us to live in a county, in a place in a great country as great as Pickens County. Lord, I pray that you bless our citizens, Lord, abundantly. And Lord, I pray that as a counselor, you give us wisdom in conducting the business of the county, that we would always act in the right way toward our citizens and in their best interest. Lord, I pray this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you will please remain standing, it's my privilege to introduce to you a young lady, Elizabeth Gibson from Southern Wesleyan University, and she's going to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we marched were so gallantly streaming, and like a the bombs bursting in them gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and
That's a great way to start a meeting right there. We'll move on to our item number 2, public forum. It's now our opportunity to hold public forum. This is your opportunity to give feedback to council on issues you deem important. I would like to make a comment that I've noticed over the past several meetings that the public has come to make comment, and they've come with solutions and just not problems, and that's been an awesome thing to witness. Madam Clerk, please call first speaker.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, no one has signed up for public forum this evening.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll move on to our next item. Item number 3, approval of minutes. I'll ask for a motion approving the minutes for the January 31st, 2019 special call meeting and the February 4th regular council meeting. I need a motion. It's a motion by Councilman Hudson, second by Councilman Deemster. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And that motion carries. On to item number 4, Administrator's Report. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. First, I'd like to let you know that, remind council that our MOUs are on the consent agenda to be heard at the CAL meeting next week. I've placed a draft copy of the MOUs at each of your desks to review. If you have any questions, feel free to call us this week and let us know what they are, and we'll try to address them as quick as possible. I've also placed a copy of your monthly reports at your desk for you guys to review. If you have any questions about those as well, let us know. Second, as you can see on our agenda tonight, item number 9, so we're going to be talking about Mile Creek Park. I've asked the director, Tyler Merck, to come forward tonight, kind of talk to you about some of the improvements that we've already made at Mile Creek Park and give you an update on where we are. Tyler?
opportunity to be here tonight, and you guys can hear me. Appreciate Gerald inviting me. I have good news to share. We proud to announce that Mount Creek is now self-sufficient, 100%. We plan to sustain that for the years to come, and also want to announce that we've actually seen a huge increase in revenue over the last year and a half. This has been occurring, and at the end of February, we actually noticed that we're on track to. At the end of February, we noticed this year alone, we've got $64,000 profit, and we actually anticipate that by the end of the year, we'll see about $96,000 in profit. So with that said, I just wanted to say, that I'm really happy with my staff. With this increase in revenue, there's been a large increase in work. They've done a great job handling it. This budget year, we finished the cabins. The cabins were a big hit, and I think they're doing really well. People are happy. They're renting well for the summertime. We finished the third island bathhouse. Really looks great. One of the big complaints we had with the park was the bathhouses. I'll go as far to say now that this bathhouse is the nicest of any park in South Carolina. We do have plans to finish the next two next winter. We've also done a lot of landscaping work, mulch. These are the pictures of the bathhouse. Really turned out phenomenal, brightened up. I couldn't be happier with it. As well around the park, just a lot of mulch work, a lot of underbrush removal. Really makes a huge difference. People are real happy. So, and I believe that this is all possible from the direction that council has put forth. I think we're in line of what you guys are wanting to do. So with that said, after saying that we're self-sufficient, I am going to say that we're going to be asking for money tonight. What we're looking at is a few different options. The biggest project we have going on is docks for the park. What this would be is one dock in the cabin area, then two in the campground. This just provides a better alternative for somebody parking their boat on the shore or having to take it out every evening and trailer it. This also gives us another stream of revenue for the park. We're also looking at a gate system. Our first priority is the safety and security of our visitors. We just want them to have peace of mind while they're staying with us. Third thing we're looking at is TVs for the cabins. When we first installed the cabins, we didn't think it was going to be a big deal. We figured most people are going to be going out on the lake or just getting out and walking. The thing that we've seen this year, it can rain, and it can rain a lot. And for those people that rent the cabins for 3 or 4 days and it rains the whole time, there's really not much to do. So we want to provide, just make sure we're providing the best experience for the people that are coming as well. I think this makes the cabins more rentable. A big item here, this is very early, but looking at an engineering study for the park, one of the biggest problems we have is our day use area. The boat ramp, swimming area, picnicking is all in one spot. It was great back in 1980 when there really wasn't, these huge boats and, the water-based recreation wasn't that big, but now it is. And so we've just got major congestion issues. It's a big spot I think we can improve. So looking at this, I'd like to do this study to give us a better idea of what we can do. Basically move the day use area away from the boat ramp, as well as provide a kayak and canoe launching area that'd be separate. Lastly is just landscaping. Not a big ticket item, but I think it would go a long way. So with that said, where we're requesting this money from would be the local accommodations tax fund. I know as of today, there's enough money to cover this in there. I know it'll add before the year's over with. As well, what we're wanting to do is within the scope of the approved projects. So I won't take up any more of your time. I just want to say that I appreciate the opportunity, and I think that everything we discussed would make the experience of the park a lot better and a great return on investment.
And to kind of follow up with what Tyler told me earlier today, we were talking, our cabins, I think for the month of February, we had about $8,000 in rental reservations just for the month of February.
Correct.
Come in for the cabins.
And that's only going to increase from here, so.
Questions?
Got a few questions. First of all, I want to say it's awesome to hear that you guys are going to be doing something with the kayaks and the canoes and stuff like that. Those Main Street pickings, you see the up team dozen of those things coming toward the lake, and it'd be nice to get them to come to our county park to put in the water and enjoy Lake Huey. 50-amp sites and larger campsites for larger rigs. How's that coming along?
We're meeting with Duke first week of April. We're hoping that Duke will take the project on. We don't really have a good idea yet, but I can give you a good update early April. I think we're looking good on it.
Duke actually holds the lease. Any improvements we make at Mile Creek Park, we have to go through Duke Energy to get those approved.
And then will that include full hookups?
Well, we're working on full hookup as well. That is in the works.
That's another item we've got to get them to approve.
It's awesome to see that out here. And making money for the county and providing the citizens and people from outside the county an excellent recreation opportunity. That's great.
And that is another huge point. We're seeing a huge number of people from outside of Pickens County. I'd say that about half of our reservations are outside of the 864 area code. So seeing a lot of people from outside, bringing a lot of people in.
Tyler's done a great job. He's been on board with us about a year and a half now. We've made a lot of improvements at Mile Creek Park. He's made a lot of changes, had a lot of great ideas. This is council's vision. We want to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to perform these tasks. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Next, I'm going to have Mr. Greeno step to the podium. I'm going to have him start coming on a bi-monthly basis. I'd like him to just kind of come and give you guys a financial report, just to let you know where we are financially on revenues and expenditures.
Good evening, Council. Appreciate you letting me speak tonight before you. Joe and I thought it'd be a good idea, maybe on a bi-monthly basis going forward, is to give you all an update on the finances of the county. You have before you on your desk a monthly financial report for the general fund. This is something I do on a monthly basis. We actually put it on the website each month, so anybody that wants to look at it, they can go to our website under most popular to view, which I'll review in tonight. I've tried to simplify because I know I have a lot of columns here, but this is through January 31st. I'm mainly going to be talking about the column in yellow. I know in the past it gets confusing looking at these things, so like I said, I want to simplify and just focus on the year-to-date actual. It's broken down between revenues and expenditures. The first line is your taxes. We've brought in about $20,800,000 compared to last year was about $19.4 million. Now that doesn't mean we're going to have extra money at the end of the year. It just means people are paying sooner than they have in years past. In fact, I spoke with the treasurer about 2 weeks ago. He said compared to last year, there was about 500 bills that were paid sooner this year than they were last year. So I don't want there to be any misunderstanding that we got a lot more money coming in when you look at these two columns. Next item is license and permits. We're on track with this one. If you'll notice the 416,590 compared to two columns over to the right of 526, that's just basically a timing issue. Last year we received the payments from the cable operators for the franchise fee in January. This year we received it in February. So when I do the February report, that will true up and everything. Same thing on the intergovernmental. That's the local government fund, which is the majority of that. Had a timing issue on that. We received the money in February this year versus January of last year. So we're on target for what they said they were going to give to us. We're still going to get the same amount. It's just a timing issue. Everything else is pretty much in line as you can go through down the column on the year-to-date actual and compare it to two columns to the right compared to this time last year. The only exception I would point you to is under miscellaneous. We've collected about $36,000, or on your report this is $35,880. If you go two columns to the right, it showed $293,623. What that is for is one of the companies ended up going out of business, so they had to refund them some money that we upfronted them when they came on board, and we offered an incentive to them. So they had to pay us back some money, and that was about $250,000. So that's the big discrepancy there. But overall, we're on target. The majority of our taxes have come in through January. We'll still pick up some in February and March and April like we always have, but generally November, December, and January are 3 months that we collect the majority of our taxes. but everything's on track to collect what we had anticipated. On the expenditure side, you can do a comparison between the 2 years. All the expenditures are in line. We're not seeing anything that I have concerns about. In fact, I think I talked to y'all about a month ago at our work session, and I'm not going to go back through it tonight, about our year-to-date projection. I see where we're still doing okay on that. We'll have some attrition, or we'll have some savings on that, but overall our expenditures are where we anticipated to be. On your third page, I've kind of simplified that. I know I've been giving y'all a monthly report, or generally send out a monthly report, use of fund balance or unassigned fund balance. I've narrowed it down instead of going back all the way to the beginning of 2017. I've just shown this fiscal year, which I've taken out of fund balance. So you can see, and I talked about this at the work session back in January, it just shows the amount that you approved, what the item was for, and then the date you approved it. So that's kind of clarified. I think sometimes when you're reading these financials, and I think sometimes I may get it confused and I give too much information out. So I've simplified this just for this fiscal year, which I've approved out of fund balance. Okay. I do want to clear up one thing that at the work session, I think it got misinterpreted about, and I don't know how it did, but I've just heard from the administrators and other people that we've had to sell George's Creek to make ends meet. I just want to say that's the farthest thing from the truth. I just want to say that's the farthest thing from the truth again. I'm not sure, maybe I didn't speak clearly that night. All I was saying is we've taken money out of fund balance, and with the sale of George's Creek, that will pretty much offset the amount that we planned on using from fund balance. In fact, to show you that, if you don't mind going to the second page, and I didn't highlight this, but I'm going to direct you to where I'm talking about that. If you look at the second column, it says year-to-date projection. Down at the bottom, it has fund balance beginning of the year, $27,162,642. That's where we started out in fund balance for the general fund. If we sell George's Creek and we still take the same amount of money out of fund balance, if you look at fund balance end of year, it's $27,077,608. So basically, we'll increase our fund balance by $76,000 and still have $27 million total fund balance at the end of the year. Projections come through as the way I've anticipated. So just to make it clear with council, if I misspoke a month ago, I apologize. We are not having to sell any assets to make ends meet. By the end of the year, I hope to have $27 million in fund balance, depending on what we do with the budget for 2020. Gerald mentioned we're going to have some items for the landfill, but I'm not going to go into the budget process at this time. We'll do that for our work sessions in April. Other than that, all the other funds are looking okay. I don't have any really concerns except for our sales at our museum in Haygood Mill. And I think Mr. Wilson has put that on the consent agenda to talk about. I'm really not prepared to discuss that tonight, but I think it's something I want to make council aware of, and we can talk about that during the work sessions in detail. But if council doesn't have any questions, or if they do, I'll be glad to answer them. But just kind of want to give you all a bi-monthly update. I think this is a good thing that I need to go up here and talk about our finances and let y'all know, let the public know if there's any concerns that we have.
Can I say something? I like the idea. You said you'd like to bring them up here.
Yes, sir.
Not every other month.
Yes, sir.
I think it's good for the public.
Yeah.
I agree. I read that in the paper too, and I laughed. I'm like, I missed that one.
That's what gave us the idea.
And there again, I'll apologize if I misspoke or something, but I don't think I did, but maybe it wasn't clearly stated.
I think we understood.
We were with you.
Okay. We're not having to sell George's Creek or any other assets to make ends meet.
But having this every couple of months, I think, is a good service for the public to know how their money is being spent.
And like I said, this report is put out every month. It's put out under most popular. So y'all are not getting any information that they can't see online, with maybe the exception of the use of fund balance. But anyway. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you.
One final note, we are scheduled to close on the sewer line on March the 28th, I think it is. So all that's kind of finalizing there. Yeah, we could make budget. No, actually, last month, whenever we saw this in the paper, we thought it would be a good idea to start having Ralph come up on a bi-monthly basis, just to give you guys an idea where we're revenue and expense wise. And if things change, you need to know what's changed. So, does council have any questions for us tonight? We're glad to answer any questions, entertain any questions you may have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council.
Move on to item number 5, committee reports. The committee of the whole met in the main conference room of the administration building on Monday, February 25th, and you've got the report in your package. The first item addressed was log number 116, a request from District 3 council member to consider Vineyard's fire district proposal to purchase a new fire truck for fund balance. This is it on the agenda for us to talk about later, or are we doing this right now?
The recommendation resulted in it being placed on the agenda at number 11.
So, Councilman Hendricks made a motion to approve the purchase of the Vineyard's fire truck through our GEO bond, keeping the millage rate the same or less. Motion was seconded by Inslee Thinkster. Councilman Bauer made a motion to remove this item number 116 from the log and advise staff to prepare documents for a first reading in this council meeting. So the motion was seconded by Councilman Thinkster and carried unanimously. So this would be the first reading of the Vineyard's fire truck ordinance. That's what this was. It's on the agenda for item number 11. So we'll be taking that up. The next item is log number 66, road maintenance fees. The Vice Chairman Bowers made a motion to bring the intergovernmental agreement before the council to vote and remove this log number 66 from the log. Motion was seconded by Mr. Thinkster and carried unanimously. The intergovernmental agreement is at your seat. No second is required because this comes as a recommendation from the committee. I'd like to ask for all those in favor for accepting this recommendation to please signify by raising your hands. And that motion carries. The next item is log number 79 on the council rules. Vice Chairman Bowers made a motion to remove item number 79 from the log. The motion seconded by Councilman Carl Hudson and carried unanimously. No second is required because this comes as a recommendation from the committee. I would ask for all those in favor for accepting this recommendation to signify by raising your hand. That motion carries. The next item was log number 55, review of the fire board and district. The committee recommends bringing this log item back to the next committee meeting, and we will be meeting about that at the committee of the whole meeting in March. So next week, there was no action taken by the committee. Next item was log number 88, recreation funding request, and we recommended bringing that log item back to the next committee of the whole meeting in March, so no action is taken there. The committee of the whole voted to remove several items from the log, so I ask for unanimous consent that those recommended removals be approved. Seeing no objection, it is ordered, and we will conclude the committee of the report and move on to item number 6. This concludes our committee of the whole. Item number 6. Council correspondence. Okay, so I have the next council meeting is going to be on Monday, April the 1st. Really? April 1st? It just worked out that way, or just saying? Okay, at 6:30 here in the auditorium. The committee of the whole will meet on this coming Monday, March the 18th at 6 o'clock. Pickens County Council Administration invite you to join our anti-litter initiative that's going to be coming up. This is our third semi-annual litter pickup. It's going to take place the week of April 21st to the 27th, and the council and staff will be removing trash on our roadways on Friday, April the 26th. But you really can participate anytime that week. We want to encourage everybody to help us celebrate Earth Day and set an example for future generations for keeping our environment clean. This is something that is absolutely amazing what this group of men up here have done in conjunction with municipalities and the school district and the Department of Transportation. It really is astounding the recognition that we're getting across the state for wanting to keep our county clean, and we're making extraordinary efforts towards that. So I want to encourage you guys to jump in with us. Feet first, but we're gloves and heavy shoes because lots of cigarette butts to pick up. Right. I do have a couple of things that I have some chair points that I'd like to make during this time. I'd like to appoint Councilman Whitehurst to head up an ad hoc committee for insurance broker, an RFP committee. and to put that together with any other councilman or staff that he deems fit. I'd also like to make the appointment of Vice Chairman Bowers to head up an ad hoc committee on medical control physician RFP and also on medical billing. And for you to, again, put together whatever you need from staff or council to help.
One of my requests in doing this is to have Councilman Bowers on.
You're worried he's not going to turn you down?
Yes.
Okay. I
need his expertise.
I'll also appoint Councilman Bowers to Vice Chair Bowers to work with him. Huh?
I want to be public.
You're thinking about it, I'm sorry. To be a part of this ad hoc committee for insurance broker RFP committee.
But in all honesty, I look at people's strengths, and his strength is in medical, and I've got business, he's also got business background, and I think between the two of us, that'll work.
Well, what I love about this is that you expressed the interest, and you said, this is something that I've been looking at for years, and now let's start something on this. Let's see what we can accomplish. And you're right, playing to each other's strengths is a great thing. All of the strengths need to be following your chair, which we appreciate. Graciously accept your support. All right, is there any other council correspondence? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item number 7, motion period in new business. So I'll now say we're now in our motion period. Does any member have any motions at this time for any new business? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 7. I'm sorry, item number 8. Update from the Public Defender's Office. Melissa, please.
Good evening. Good evening, my name is Chris Scalzo. I'm the Circuit Public Defender for the 13th Circuit, which would be Pickens and Greenville counties. What I'd like to do while I'm speaking is hand you up a budget presentation document for you to look at while I'm presenting. I'm going to try to follow it as best I can. We are not asking for a significant amount of money this year, certainly much less than we asked for last fiscal year. But I did want to update you on what happened with the money you gave us from the last fiscal year. And that's what this document really lays out, and I obviously can supplement with any questions. But the biggest thing I'd like to show you is I started with fiscal year 2018 and moved forward, and we'll try to address fiscal year 2020 to show you what I think is going to happen based on the data that we're getting in right now. If you'll see on the first page, which is fiscal year 2018, the county's contribution to the budget was $216,000. I think the biggest thing to see on that is that pie chart that shows how many employees we had. Because if you look at the next page and you compare, you'll see a progression in the number of employees in the Public Defender's Office in Pickens. When you go to fiscal year 2019, you'll see a small increase in the number of employees. And then as you get to fiscal year 2020, the increase in the budget, the primary part of that increase really is a 3% increase in terms of salaries and whatnot, but it's not a request for any new positions. However, I'm able to add a part-time position of an office manager through state funding. That's another reason why I'm not asking for any money this year for a position-wise, a full-time or part-time. That additional staff member is going to further increase our efficiency in the office, and I think will help carry out what I'm going to show you next, which is we've had, I think, a significant increase in our production in the office. If you look at page 4, there's a chart on there. I described it, but the chart really, I think, captures it well. The left side of the chart shows you fiscal year 18, where we ended up. And you'll notice that blue column is the new clients we took in, and the reddish-orange column is the closed clients, the clients we were able to dispose of during that year. And then the next two columns really are
the number of clients for each lawyer during that fiscal year, both new and closed. Now look to the right when we make that comparison, you'll see a significant jump both in the number of new clients we expect to take in, but more importantly, the number of clients we're closing and we expect to close in that fiscal year, basically statistically even with what we're taking in. But I think perhaps the biggest thing is if you look at the next two columns, you'll see that they went down from fiscal year 18. So the number of clients that each lawyer is carrying for both new and closed went down, but production went up. And that's a significant thing. Intuitively, I knew that that's likely to happen. It's not that easy to show you until it actually does happen. But I think it's a significant occurrence with what we've been able to do. If you go to the next page, and I'm happy to answer any questions as I go along, but if you go to the next page, I wanted to point out something. That has fiscal year 19 with where we are currently in terms of staff. To the right of that is a demonstration of if the staff was where it really should be, you'd see a difference in some production. There'd be an increase in that production. A big issue for not being able to add staff besides funding is space. And I've talked to Mr. Wilson about working on space, physical location. I can't get another really body in the office even if you all gave me money or the state gave me money. But I wanted council to know that while I think we've been doing well and we did well this past fiscal year, there was more to kind of do. We could have done more had we had other resources. It wouldn't anything necessarily council wasn't able to do. It's just a circumstance. Going forward, if you go to page 6, that's where I'm trying to address fiscal year 20 in the same manner. You have the current staff and then you have what probably really should be there. And you'll see sort of the difference in the two. It's not tremendous, but something that you may not realize it because you're not there day to day is you have new clients coming in and then you have clients that you're closing. But every year you're carrying forward probably somewhere in the realm of 900 to 1,000, 1,100 clients. Part of that is just natural because some clients will straddle from year to year. It may take some time to close the case. But there are some clients that if you had more resources to address them, you should be able to move them through the process faster. And that's the goal. The goal is to have whatever passes over into the next year be legitimate in that it just simply takes that long to get them resolved. You don't want cases going longer than they need to. And that's kind of really what we're aiming towards. And so what I tried to do at the end, you'll see at the bottom, there's sort of these 3 steps that I'm talking about in trying to achieve and ultimately get us to a place where you can really see even bigger changes or a consistency in the changes we've already seen. And I think that is office space, which is something that we're prepared to work on. I think the Public Defender's Office is prepared to make investments in space as we work with the county to acquire or change or whatever the plan ends up being. I think that that's something to work on through 2020 and perhaps look at 2021 to see if there's anything that needs to be done different. If you can get to that place where there's some more space, then I think you can move into adding some personnel. And you can see I've written it in there. The number of personnel is not a lot. You're probably maybe at 3 lawyers, maybe 1 or 2 other staff members. And this is over time. And I think part of why I wanted to come to you and make a presentation when I wasn't asking for an actual employee was to prepare you for that and work with you through that over more than 1 fiscal year. And I think if we can do that ultimately, I think you'll see more production not only in the year to year. The numbers were about 5%. It looks like we're up about 5% in new clients this year than we were in fiscal year 2018. It's the only predictor we really can use to see what we would look like in 19 and maybe in 20. But what we can't necessarily control that in a very easy way. But what we can control is putting our effort into what we already have. And the more we can put more effort into what we've got and dispose of those cases and those clients, the more efficient we'll be, and then the more efficiency we can bring to the overall system and to Pickens County. So this document really was an effort to kind of give you that kind of a background, to show you the progress that we made. And so I'd be happy to answer questions, concerns, whatever you all have.
Have you been able to see any effect on jail population?
No, not directly. I haven't run any statistics. I know with the transition from old to new, there's going to be some time before everything sort of settles down to see if we can make a change. But I can try to find out and look at the statistics and report back if what I find.
I think one of the big things that we've got interested in initially is, get the cases through faster, and it affects jail population. So, if you get anything, just shoot that to us. I'm interested to know.
I will look and see what I can report back in terms of numbers from our end. But you're right, conceptually, that's what we're after. The earlier we can get in the case, the more resources we can put towards a person when we first get them, means that we can really sort of triage our way through who should stay in there for a shorter period of time, and then who's going to be in there a longer period of time. If you don't have enough resources, then you really can't triage that, and then you're just stuck with sort of what you're left with, and that's not the wisest way to kind of manage your jail space.
Thank you, Councilman. That's the point. I think last year when we had this conversation, we discussed your office, and it was all about easing that load on the sheriff's office and what was in the jail. Same thing with things going on in the courthouse, et cetera, et cetera. And I know it all comes down to more time and positions, and the idea is to get a better flow. So I want to make sure that, I think we all want to make sure that that's what we're working on here. So.
Yes, sir.
Of those numbers you presented us, one thing, two questions. One thing is reiterate your formula for projections. And secondly, how many of those guys y'all are working with, clients, are repeat offenders?
Well, there's going to be a lot of people that are repeat offenders. I can't give you a statistic on that. That's a difficult statistic to pull out of data because
y'all don't keep records of that.
Well, we keep records of it, but it's sort of buried. Like we don't keep a separate sort of ledger on who's a repeat offender and who's not. We'd have to go in and sort of count it out. We could try to see if we could pull that out and see what that ends up looking like. It's not a number that we normally just comes out easily in our case management system. But I can try to look at that.
You get them rehabilitated, and then eventually, if there are a lot of repeat offenders, you get them rehabilitated, and eventually that would drop that number.
Yes, sir.
So again, reiterate your formula for projections, please.
And what page, what are you looking at? Are you just asking in general?
Your projections for next year, about the number of clients you think you're going to see.
So what I did is, fiscal year 18 is in. So that's an actual number. That's where we sort of end up. These are adults. Juveniles, we're talking maybe 50 juveniles over the course of a year, so it's not even a very big number. But I use mainly all adults in these calculations. From fiscal year 18 to where we currently are in fiscal year 19, I matched those two sections. So from July 1 to March 11th, in both years, I got both numbers. If you take those two numbers, we went up about 5% from 18 to 19 in terms of bringing in new clients. And the same thing, I took the same percentage for closing the clients for that period of time. And then what I did is I basically figured out monthly. So you got 8 months within that time frame, and then projected that out for both new and closed for the fiscal year 19. And then in 20, I assumed the same progression of numbers from a percentage-wise, what we're seeing from 18 to 19. That's really all you can do. There's no other real way to fine-tune it until you start to get into the middle of the fiscal year.
And what about the new clients from 15, 16, and 17, where you get a 5-year range over, you get a more accurate time? Regardless of how many of y'all are serving, the new clients is the number you're looking at, right?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
All right, you're talking about a 2-year period. I'm looking at what are the numbers over a 5-year period dating back to 2015 of new clients, because you got new clients 15, 16, 17, 18, you got a larger sample to look at as far as projecting growth, not just a 1-year thing, because it could be
I've done it before. I've done that in Greenville, looking at it and picking. The problem is that the trend is outside of the public defender office in terms of bringing in new clients. So in other words, why the trend would go up or down is going to kind of change year to year. There's too many variables that aren't going to really be able to tell you. So if I take in, for instance, what is the percentage of growth from 2015 to 2018? It would probably go all over the place, and then you'd land in 2018 and still have a 5% jump in 2019, because it never tracks a smooth progression.
But it's supposed to be a better idea over a longer period of time versus short periods of time.
I've tried that. I have not had the ability to have a more workable function or mathematical prediction using it that way. What I've had to come back to really was, what was the year before? For instance, in Greenville, 2017 was statistically higher than the years before and then after. So what happened was new clients came in, 17 jumped significantly, and then went right back down in 2018, even though 2018 is still slightly up. You're still kind of going up from 2018 to 2019. But the big jump, it just went like that. And so unfortunately, statistically, it's very difficult to take all that in and predict going forward. You really got to be year to year.
We're worried about Pickens County than that, right?
We are, and I'm not saying that the percentage is the same. What I'm saying is the way it works, it isn't as useful as you might think, is really what I'm saying. I can give you the numbers. I'm just saying it's not as useful.
Very good, thank you.
I have one comment.
Yes, sir.
And that kind of goes back to the region. And we talked about this last year.
Yes, sir.
Our biggest concern was moving people through the system. Our biggest gripe is that when people sit in jail for a long period of time and then they get time served, and we are, as Pickens County, are taking care of their sentence here as opposed to the state. According to your numbers here, you've had a 15% increase in number of new clients. Is that right?
No, it's a 5% increase in new clients.
So you closed out 15% more, but you've got a 30% increase in staff. So I get the workload was heavy. So what I'm seeing is the workloads come down, but what I really want to see is those number of closed clients go up more than 15%. Because you're asking, you said last year, this is going to make a big increase in the number of people we move to the system. In my mind, 15% is good, but we went a 30% increase in staff.
Yeah, but the percentages don't play the same.
I understand. We increased staff by 2 full-time attorneys, and we got a 15% increase in overall production. So my point, I know the guys are working hard, I'm not trying to tell you that.
I know.
We as a council, our biggest concern is we got this new jail. We don't want to fill it day one and be right the same boat again. And you were giving us promise of relief. And that's what we're still going to be pushing on.
And that's what I'm trying to bring to you, that there is relief demonstrated in the numbers.
Well, you told me here if you add another half a staff person, we go up by another 100, over 100.
Which page are you looking at?
The last page where you said you wanted to have another staff person or something, another part-time staff person.
No.
Additional staff.
What I'm saying on the last page is in fiscal year 20, if you look at where we would stay with what we have currently, and then if you compare that to probably where we should be in terms of the number of staff, both lawyers and support staff, that's where that difference is. The additional support staff would probably be 2 to 3 lawyers and an assistant.
2 to 3 lawyers and assistants to get another 15%.
Well, keep in mind that, I'm not, your argument for you, one thing that we got to look at is when he starts out, he's in new clients, they've only got 1,400 to begin, and now jumps up to 1,644. So the number of clients is also increasing exponentially with the number of closes. So, yeah, I agree with you.
My point is, I know you're doing great, we appreciate it, but we want to move it too, and just keep that in the back of your mind. I don't like having to do the state's job, holding people.
Mr. Chairman, to the point of not liking to do the state's job, I have a question. And I've been here waiting patiently. I think you're going to appreciate it. So, looking over from 18, the mix is 70% state, 30 county, and 19, 64 to 36%, and then 2020 we're looking at 63% to 37. The state numbers stay consistent. What's the state planning on doing? I mean, obviously you can prove the plan need. It's here. Is the state not willing to step up at all and pitch in because they haven't had an increase to your revenue in at least 3 years here?
My understanding of where the state budget is right now is that neither the solicitor nor the public defenders, as a statewide system, have seen an increase to what would be our general funding so that we could turn around and apply it to each office. It's essentially going to stay the same. So that's why I put in there the Pickens County would basically get the 503, which has been consistent. 2016 and 2017 was a significant increase from the state side. Prior to that, I can get the numbers if you want them, but that $503,000 was much lower. I think that's somewhat what the state was rationalizing as far as getting everybody, not just Pickens County, but Greenville, every county is in that same position as they were last fiscal year. So that's currently the plan from the state side. Unfortunately, that's kind of all I can give you because it's their decision.
Well, with it being a state function, obviously, we don't want to have to get anything. But we understand there's a need. That 70-30 feels pretty good. But every year when you creep up, next thing you know, it's going to be 60-40 by 2021 if you're not careful.
Maybe.
Also, the state, no realize $61 million isn't a lot of money to the state of South Carolina, but $61 million in new tax this year off the lottery winner that claimed the state economy, right? We didn't get that money. So, you know, I know everybody's calling for it, but there are new funds out there for them. And I just want to make sure that your office is looking at that as well.
Yeah, we went through the budget presentation. So on the state side, the budget proposal is made by the Commission on Indigent Defense. Each circuit defender is present, and we obviously contribute and answer questions just like I'm answering to you. I was at the Senate hearing and I was at the House hearing for both budget proposals. Solicitors, I was at the same time as the solicitors. There was a request, I don't have the exact number, but we asked for multiple millions of dollars on the defense side, as well as the solicitor side. Didn't get a whole lot of pushback at the hearing, but in terms of what came out of the budget in the House, it basically stayed the same. So where that could go in the next couple of months, I don't know. But we try not to leave anything on the table, and we continue to push for whatever funds we've asked for. But I get what you're saying.
One of the things I think about is recycling and reusing things. When you build a new prison, we may have some office space or some space that could be converted into offices. Would that be useful to y'all?
Absolutely, and I've talked to Mr. Wilson about trying to find space. There may be some space in the courthouse, whatever space. I'm telling you, and I think I told Mr. Wilson. If I haven't, I'm telling him now. Public Defender's Office is prepared to figure out a way to make its own investments, however that looks like to the best of our ability, to get the space that we think we'll need moving forward. That's why I kind of laid it out as in 2020, sort of taking that incremental step of planning it through so that in 2021 or for 2021 when we come back, If we do need more people, which I think we probably will if all the numbers pan out, if it doesn't pan out and the rate goes down, then I won't come back and ask you for 3 people. I might ask for 1 person. It's going to depend on the numbers. But from a planning standpoint, I think the best way to plan is to assume that the track we're on is probably where we're going to follow. And if we follow that track, I think it looks like somewhere in the range of 2 or 3 lawyers and some assistants to that. That's kind of the best I could do at this stage, and hopefully we'll get more accurate numbers as we move forward. But absolutely, I would use whatever space we can figure out will work.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's always great to be here. And I was remiss. Our Chief Public Defender is in here, John DeYoung. I was so excited to talk about our office, I actually forgot to mention that he was here. He is on the ground day to day. The numbers that you see, the great growth in production, he's the head of that day to day. I just get to come in and say, hey, but he's really doing it, so I want to acknowledge him for that.
I know Mr. DeYoung, I used to hate to see him.
I think that was a compliment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 9. This is the funding request for the docks at Miles Creek. Got a little bit of that information. I'll let Mr. Wilson finish talking about this.
You want to come up, Jay? Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of council. We come to you tonight asking for funding for the Mile Creek Park docks, camera system, docks, gate, security fencing, and traffic study, if I'm not mistaken. We're asking that we use some local accommodation tax funds. Currently, there's $275,000 of rollover funds in that account. It's been rolled over from previous years. We're asking that you consider allowing us to use up to $125,000 of that funding, $125,143 to be exact. Does council have any questions or concerns?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is a list of things they want for this particular project.
Yes, sir.
They mentioned about the full hookups and some of those.
Yes, sir.
That's all coming.
Yes.
I would like to see everything they're asking for.
Yes, sir.
And that's my first question, so we get a bigger picture of what we're putting into the total project there.
Yes, sir.
Versus have this and then have another one where they want this and this.
Yes,
I'd rather see the whole picture at once.
I understand that.
And with the cable, are we going to charge for that, or is that something are we going to try to recoup something? I just.
Yes, sir.
Everything's going to the lake and looking at TV.
Yes, sir. And if I'm not mistaken, Tyler, at one time there was some boxes that you kind of ran like you do a table rock. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, is that?
The cable?
Yeah, it would be a dish service, but we would probably look at just increasing the price of the cabinet. It wouldn't be much. The price for the service, the biggest part of this cost is the TVs and the install. From there, the service is actually relatively cheap. And so we would probably just look at factoring out through 10 cabins over 30 days, 31 days a month, whatever it equal out to, and just slightly increase the.
Well, what you learn to is, you start putting in TVs and equipment, you can have damages and if you come to more of that. Is there an issue now with security up there?
No. It's one of those things where I think we're safe. I mean, I live on site, I'm there, we have Park Coast on site. It's really more for the peace of mind for people.
Are they expressing a concern about it?
To an extent. I think it's always kind of when people.
Tyler, do you want to, I know we wasn't really going to address this in here, but we did have some situations at one of the bathhouses about a month ago, wasn't it? That we had some issues that took place later in the evening.
From campers? Or they
No, so this is people coming in after hours.
A big
in the
problem
campsite.
is people coming to use the facilities after hours, using the showers, things of that nature.
That aren't
camping. Yep, they just show up from
The gate system would solve that problem.
Right.
They're coming by through the road, not by boat?
No, I haven't had any issues with people coming up by boat.
Now, one thing to keep in mind on this project also is Representative Davey Hyde has actually secured $147,000 of funding to go along with this project. And we did consider trying to get the entire package together. One of the problems getting everything together at one time is Duke Energy. If you've ever dealt with Duke, getting them to agree to things. These are things that we have pretty much got approval on that can be done now. This kind of fits in line with council's goals and objectives. The docks, the dock project we've talked about for some time. This will give us up to, I think, 20, make sure I'm right, is it 24 or 32?
So you did 32.
32 spaces, which we could rent these out to the campers. So that'll bring in additional revenue. Yeah. Now the gate system wouldn't be at the actual boat ramp. When you turn to the right to go back towards the cabins and the campsites, the system we're looking at right here would be a key card access. You can actually, like you check into a hotel room, he can actually email you the gate code. It's good from 11 o'clock Thursday till 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. You pull up, you scan the key. We'll have boxes there if you need hard keys, which there's a security deposit for that. The boat ramp access, I don't know if you've ever been out to Mountain Creek Park on a Saturday afternoon, but it's a nightmare. One of the things they require us to do is we're not allowed to do that. We have to have a traffic engineer do the study for us. We don't have a traffic engineer, so, but we're looking at increasing flowability there for that, which in turn we sell more Iron Ranger passes, which means we bring in more revenue. Last year and a half, we've seen things kind of pick up, start to look good at Mountain Creek Park. We're getting a lot of compliments. We're going to be the envy of the state.
Does that money that we generate go back in the general fund?
It does. Now that money he's talking about there, that's above all expenses, salary, utilities. This is just pure profit for Pickens County. You can almost pay for this project with a profit for 1 year if you wanted to.
To one point is, I understand we talk big vision, long-term plans, and the hookups and this and the other, but anytime you're eating elephants, basically by the time I see this as a phase, this would be the first phase, the next would be the next phase. You don't have to go to another phase, but in order to get full benefit of doing those hookups and this and the other one you're talking about, you have this stuff already in place. However, you do this stuff, you don't necessarily have to have that stuff. So this would be in a phase. This would be not phase 2, because the cabins and the upgrades that you've already done in phase 1.
And as Tyler did mention, we got a meeting with Duke Energy coming up in April. Now, how fast they'll move, I can't promise you that.
Are we looking at hookups this year or next year?
Honestly, the hookups are probably a year or a year and a half out. That's what I'm thinking. This right here, what we got coming up.
All I'm thinking is I'm not, you come around and go, oh, we want hookups too.
Now, what we're looking for this coming year, and I know it's not as fast as Councilman Hendricks would like to see we move on the full hookups. What we're looking at is this coming fiscal years. We do feel like the docks, the gate access, the parking is a major issue on the boat ramp. Those are things that we need immediately. Coming up in July, we are going to ask for funding to finish the last 2 bathhouses, which there'll be some funding in next year's ATAX available for that. So we carry forward about $200,000 a year, which there's some funding there for that. But next year, we're only looking at doing the bathhouses next fiscal year. The following year, we start looking at full hookups, larger campsites. Just kind of eat that with one bite at a time. Maybe if the cabins are doing great, we look at putting in more cabins.
What I do like about this is that it's local accommodations tax. We're not taking it out of the general fund to be able to do it, and we're using the local accommodations tax, I believe, the way that we're supposed to be using it. With Tyler's recommendation or report, over 50% of the people that are showing up are coming from outside the community, coming into our community to use our services and enjoy our facilities. So I like it for this.
Unlike a lot of things, it's been money on what it does.
You mentioned rates. Just for general knowledge, what does a cabin run for in that right now?
Are you trying to put the place right now?
On a side note, we actually use Reserve America. Kind of plug that for anybody out there listening.
How much is it in that?
So the bigger cabin, the base rate's $115 a night. The smaller one's $100. Then there is tax and reservation fees on that.
Is there like a security deposit required?
There's not.
Or do y'all have a card on hold in
Keep the
case
card.
there is? So like a vandalism, theft, whatever.
And so far, the people we've been attracting have been really good. I mean, when the cleaning company comes in after most of the time, the cabin, you can barely see that it's been touched. So that may change in summertime, but so far we've had really good clientele.
Any more questions?
Do I hear a motion? Motion to approve motion by Vice Chairman Bowers. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Hudson. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. That motion carries. Thank you very much. Oh, there he is. Tyler. Okay. Tyler can walk out. Thank you. All right, on to item number 10, Consideration of funding request in the amount of $45,000 for alternate emergency operations center. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is Quatek. Could you step to the podium, please? If you look in your packet there, we actually gave a list of items in there that this would do. Keep in mind, our current EOC is located out on 183. It's within the 10-mile Duke Energy emergency planning zone. Should we have an emergency, we're one of the first people to be evacuated from our emergency operations center. What we're recommending to do tonight here is downstairs we have an alternate EOC. The reason we have an alternate EOC is because our primary EOC is located within the 10-mile emergency planning zone. If we had a primary EOC located outside that 10-mile zone, such as this, which is underground under the building, hardened concrete, this would allow us to stop having, we would have to keep that facility open out there, which will save us about $6,000 a year. Denise, do you want to kind of touch on some of the benefits of doing this?
If we can move, our offices are already here at the administration building. So if we can expand the alternate EOC, we're not asking maybe 12 feet out. If we could have that, it is a harder facility, which allows us to be a little bit closer into town instead of way out there in the country, which we loved, but we'd like to be a little bit closer. We had 2 nuclear exercises where FEMA grades us, and both times the wind direction in play twisted toward our EOC, and we had to simulate evacuating here to the EOC. So there's a lot of benefits for it. We're kind of in a little flood area out there where the old EOC is, and so we feel that we could be a little bit safer here. A couple years ago, Alabama lost their complete EOC during a tornado, so I really feel that here at the administration building is a good EOC.
Can I ask a question? How much further out of the 10-mile zone are we?
We're probably about, I'd say about 7 miles.
So we're 17 miles out?
17 to 18. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm going to defer to Denise on that number there. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I know one other thing that this would do downstairs while we're doing this is we're going ahead and kicking the wall back on we got an alternate dispatch center downstairs as well, which has 3 consoles inside it. It's not large enough to house one of our larger, should the sheriff have a situation at his office over there. Our current dispatch center downstairs, we'd have to break his dispatch center up into 2 or 3 locations. We're going to go ahead and fix the dispatch center while we're doing this to allow it to house, if we had an emergency at the sheriff's department, we got a place downstairs, we could actually transfer, nobody to ever see any loss of operations. There'll be a situation room downstairs with the Duke Energy emergency lines, is that correct? A conference room for council as well, to kind of be part of that. Now, one of the things Councilman Whitehurst taught me a long time ago is never bring a problem to you without a solution. And we do have a way to fund this. As you remember, Pinnacle Mountain, we used a lot of resources, and the state has reimbursed Pickens County for some of those resources. I think for some reason it's $42,100 some odd dollars we got back for the use of the EOC. I said, is it the mobile EOC, things like that. We also received was it $90,000, I think, Denise, something like that for overtime.
$75,000 for overtime.
Yeah, which we've already paid. This is all unbudgeted revenue. This would be a one-time expense. It would allow us to, I guess, mothball the current facility out on 183, which could be used for future expansion for other things. But it kind of fits in with council's goals and visions. You talk about efficiencies. This is increasing in efficiency is what this is doing. We've got a new, the telephone system up here is what, Centrex, is that about right? Basically, we got an internet-based telephone system. We pay pennies on the line, whereas out of the EOC, we spend about $4,000 in telephones alone. So we're looking at $4,000 to $6,000 a year savings in telephone and utilities.
Your understanding, right now we have to maintain 2 ELCs because one of them, the main one is within the 10 miles. By doing this, we only have to maintain 1 ELC.
That is correct, right, Denise?
That is correct, but we should also, in consideration, think of a place that eventually we could make an alternate. I'm saying years down the road, just for the simple fact that if something were to happen to this building, we have a contingency plan, we have a plan B.
And we do have some buildings we lease that we could think about that with.
I've got a big building running all the way out to Greenville County.
Bakersfield Community Center.
This has been an issue conversation. If God forbid, a nuclear accident happens, I tell my family, you go on 85 South. I'm going to the nuclear plant. Because that's what direction I'm heading, is I'm heading right to where the winds are heading, and that EOC is right directly in line of any radiation that come out of there. And it has been one of those things where we have to go one way into the danger zone, and so that all of our emergency staff has to be there.
Yep. What this will do right here is this is all going to be pretty much underground, under hardened concrete. It's hurricane proof, tornado proof. I think it's a wise decision. Council would consider this request. Funding is available if you consider the request. Any questions, concerns, issues?
Yeah, I like that. You got to we got before one time.
I had a question. Yes, so I was lucky enough to attend the tornado exercise, I guess a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. One thing I noticed is there was a lot of people in that room. And had that been a real event, there may have been more people in that room. Because it was just a tabletop exercise. And how people like to show up when there's actually a live event. If those individuals would have had to work, like, and I know they were working, but laptops out, no pad out, no flip out, digging up information, that would have not been possible on that day. I really don't believe. With this plan that we have here, is this space adequate to handle an incident of that size with that number of individuals?
Yes, we have some grant money that we get from the state every year, and we're going to utilize some of that, and we're going to make larger tables, and we're going to do the EOC concept design that a lot of EOCs in the state of South Carolina are using, where you have one set table and you have a core group of people that work together, logistics, finance, operations, and so that you're all able to make decisions instead of sitting at separate tables. And these larger tables will accommodate up to 8 people, so we could get up about 60 to 70 people in the EOC if we expand it.
So this plan or design that we have here would be adequate to handle potentially. I mean, I know you could always have the worst case, but
you know, I always want bigger.
Right.
But yes, this would come in.
And it's actually, it's a move in the right direction. This is a move in council's vision. This is an efficiency. $6,000 a year is not a lot of money, but in a tight budget year, I'd love to have $6,000 out of every department. This year, this will come out of the check. Well, actually, I say fund balance. We got some unbudgeted revenue. It's in agenda item number 9.
So this is not in addition. This is from the reimbursement.
We will recommend using some of the reimbursement to pay for this. Is what we're recommending. No. Denise does have a grant, just going to kind of help out Tommy.
You had extra money left over.
Yes, Tommy feels good that the $45,000 will do the structure and the bones of it. Denise feels like hers will take care of the inside. And we're also working, we got 2 options on the generator. We may actually be able to get a grant for a new generator. Denise is working on that. She told me today she felt real good about that. I'm excited about that. We'll take it. If not, Tommy's got plan B in place already. So we've got all the bases covered should council decide to approve this.
And the dispatch, if we're going to build it out, I know from time to time there's E911 money available that has to be used for equipment like this.
Yep, E911 money will take care of it. Now, we'll have to take care of the structure part. The E911 money, there's actually an extra console that's going to be inside. So once we demobilize that, one of the consoles comes back. Tasha only has to buy 2 of the consoles, which would come out of her E911 money. And she said she felt good about that. I forgot to mention that, Ralph won't let me spend it unless y'all know it.
May I entertain a motion?
Make a motion that, I'll make a motion that we move forward with this $45,000 to help in the alternate diversion operations center.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Hudson. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. And the motion carries.
Denise.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. On item number 11. This is what I was talking about before. Consideration of an ordinance to provide for issuance and sale of not exceeding $300,000 general obligation bond series 2019 to the Division of Fire Protection District of Pickens County, South Carolina. Describe the purposes for which the proceeds shall be expended to provide the payment thereof and other matters relating thereto. Motion, Council, first reading.
First reading.
Second by Ms. Baker. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. That motion carries. On to item number 12. Second reading of the ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreement by between Pickens County, South Carolina, and the company known to the county at this time as Project Providence, acting for itself, normal subsidiaries, affiliates, assessors, assigned listeners, and other project sponsors, pursuant to which the county shall covenant to accept certain negotiated payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to certain facilities in the county. The benefits of a multi-county industrial or business park to be made available to the company and the project and other matters relating thereto. I ask for a motion in the second to constitute for the second reading. Motion by Councilman Bowers. Second by Councilman Teamster. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And that motion carries. Item number 13. So this is a resolution in support of Family Promise of Pickens County. And I believe we have some folks here that are going to come speak with us about that. If you guys will.
I'm Tammy Clark, and I'm on the board of directors with Family Promise, and Armella Moore is our executive director, and she'll be answering any questions and public development requests.
Family Promise of Pickens County has been in Pickens for almost 5 years now, about 4 years and 8 months. We provide sheltering services to families who have at least one child under the age of 18, and we do that in conjunction with local congregations who actually provide the shelter locations. We provide meals and help families get back on their feet. In the last year, we served 42 families. What's significant about that is 27 of those folks were children. And as a part of what we do, because we use volunteers primarily, we do this with 2 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff. So in the last year, we provided 3,239 shelter nights. And we had 6,478 meals provided. In addition, we had over 20,000 hours of volunteer time. So with the volunteers that we use and a less than $200,000 budget, we provided over $750,000 in services to the people who came through our shelter by helping them with everything from health care, transportation, child care, meals, and shelter. And we are asking, part of what we do, we're nonprofit, so we do depend on individuals, businesses, and our congregations to support us financially. The other thing we do is we apply for grants. And like we have every year, this year we're applying for a grant with the Office of Economic Opportunity. And each year we ask for support from our county, from the cities in Pickens County, to say that they will support us to continue in what we do. And so today we're asking for Pickens County Council to support us in applying for this grant, just by saying to them that we are in support of the services that Family Promise provides. Thank you.
What questions do you guys have?
Oh, when you say shelter nights, where do your clients stay? Where do y'all?
They stay in our congregations all over the county. So the churches, they spend the night in churches.
Do y'all work with any homeless shelters outside the county? Because I know we don't have any per se inside the county.
If we do, if we're full, we will refer our families to other sheltering locations. We take referrals from them from time to time also, but we don't, of course, have any control over what they do, but we do make referrals, and we participate in what we call the Upstate Continuum of Care, which is a group of 13 counties, and so we share a database where we can track the people who are homeless, and if we need information about someone that we have taken in, that if they've been homeless before, then we have that information available to us, and they'll have our information available to them.
Do y'all work with, or try to, like somebody gets hard on, y'all try to transition them, like you got the place in Easley, Dream Center and all that? Do y'all work with those guys, or Home of the Heart, or some of these other places?
We do get referrals from the Dream Center, and some of our folks do go over and take classes from there. But in terms of like Home with the Heart, like they did things like provide furniture for some of our families when they move out. We have a couple of transitional houses that we will place families in for up to a year, try to help them get back on their feet. So, and those are provided through either our donors or like one of our churches provides one of those houses.
Are there any other organizations that you haven't mentioned y'all work with within the county?
Oh, yes.
Like,
yes.
for example?
We work closely with SHARE. We work with United Ministries. We work, actually we have a group that meets monthly of some of the local organizations to suggest work with our families. We work closely with ESS. So there are several organizations, pretty much one of the things about Pickens County, the nonprofit organizations work very closely together to try to share resources. And so if we get something that we think someone else can use, we'll call them up and say, hey, we've got this. If y'all need it, come on over and get it.
And this is for a grant from the state, correct?
Yes, it is.
I did some research on your website. It really looks really great stuff that you guys are doing. Mr. King, Chairman of Council Peaster, you said that you were involved in the initial inauguration.
That's right. When Family Promise was first beginning to be formed, I became the treasurer and was treasurer for 4 years. I know Ms. Moore quite well. She's a friend of mine. And for that reason, I'm not going to vote on this because I feel like I'm so close to the vote.
Mr. Chairman, first off, I'm very familiar with the program, and I appreciate the work that you're doing in the communities. And the thing I love about it is it's in the communities. It's not in a community. It's across our county. And I'm very grateful for that. Just for clarification purposes, this resolution, we're just recognizing that what they're doing in our county and that we support them putting up for a grant. We're not promising them any money or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, and I'll read this before we go. Any other questions?
One comment, I teach school and we see some hard cases, hard situations, and what you do ain't easy, it's tough. You guys doing what you do and you got a good heart. Thank you all.
And we do work with all the 5 school liaisons.
Thank you.
So let me read what we have here. I, Rick Cox, duly authorized to act on behalf of the County of Pickens, hereby approve the following project proposed Family Promise of Pickens County, which is to be located in Pickens County. As chairman of the Pickens County Council, I would like to confirm that I have been advised that Family Promise of Pickens County is submitting an application to the South Carolina Office of Economic Opportunity for funding of its emergency shelter program, assisting homeless families in Pickens County. Family Promise is requesting funds to support a portion of its case management, transportation, and day center operations for homeless families. The services that Family Promise provides are very much needed in this county. We endorse their application and urge that your office provide funds for this program. Ask for a motion in the second. Motion by Vice Chairman Bowers. Second by Councilman Hendricks. Is there any other discussion?
Do we want to put something in there that you voted on by council?
I would love to do that.
Can we kind of make an amendment?
Yes.
Motion to say that this is.
Yeah, that was just a draft.
Approved and voted on by council.
Approved and voted on by full council.
Okay.
Second by Vice Chairman Bowers. All right, so let's vote on that part first on the amendment. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. All right, and now voting on with the amendment in place. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. And that motion carries. Thank you both very much. I really do appreciate your work before and the second part. Item 14, the consent agenda. All right. On the consent agenda, we have Hagen Mill and a memorandum of understanding. I ask for motion in a second that we approve the consent agenda item as presented. Motion by Vice Chairman Bowers. Second by Councilman Hudson. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. And that motion carries. about to enter into our executive session. We'll be going into executive session for several things. Personnel, Kiwi Springs Fire Department, legal issues with legal update on existing litigation, boards and commissions and vacancies for the following: accommodations tax, alcohol and drug behavioral health, ACOG, assessments and appeals, beautification committee, Bethel and Roanoke Water, construction board of appeals, cultural commission, Easley Central Water, economic development alliance, the fire district boards for Central, Carlsbad, Davisville, Easley, Holly Springs, Liberty, Freeman, Pumpkin Town, Rocky Bottom, Shady Grove, 6 Mile and Vineyards, GPATS, library board of directors, Pickens County Grievance Committee, Pickens County Management Mental Health, planning commission, public service commission, Sedgwick Tax District, 6 Mile Rural Water, Southside Rural Water, Water Authority Tourism Board, zoning and appeals, and a nonprofit board for Hagen Mill, Pickens County Museum, and the Pickens County Performing Arts Center. So I need a motion second that we enter into executive session for those reasons that I've listed after we take a brief break. Motion by Councilman Hendricks, second by Councilman Hudson. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. And we'll enter into executive session. Thank you. Okay, we're called back into session. Out of our executive session, we have no actions to take. So at this time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn. Second by Councilman Deezer. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. We are